When we came to the Capitol last year as freshmen, we inherited the largest deficit in the history of Minnesota. It was over $5 billion. And through a lot of tough decisions that we made last year, we were able to turn that record-setting deficit into a surplus of over $1 billion. And now with this measure, we will have put the state back into a place where in 8 of the last 17 years, we've had at least this much money or more. So if I just pull out the spreadsheet, as I look at some of the numbers, being a CPA, I kind of like looking at numbers and spreadsheets. In 2002, 2003, 2004, we will have, in those years, less money in the cash flow and reserve account than we will after this measure passes. The same goes for 2009 and for 2010 and actually 2011. So 8 of the last 17 years, we will have less money in 8 of those 17 years than we will after we pass this measure. So I'm very proud of this measure, happy where we are. I'm actually thinking about this and realizing, hoping that this day would come, but we got here much sooner, much more quickly than I ever thought we would. Tom, what this does is it brings us back to, as I mentioned before, to exactly what we inherited from the DFL-controlled legislature just a couple of years ago. So it's bringing it back to that 70-30 shift, and although that's something that we still need to work on and continue efforts to address that down the road, this brings us back to where we were when we started. Will the governor sign this? And I think working with him for the last little over a year, I would say that education is very important to him. It's very important to all of us in the legislature. He was a former school teacher himself, and when he looks at his legacy, he's thinking about, what have I done for education? What have I done for the school kids? And my wife and I have 4 children, and they've all gone through public schools. And I talked to my 2nd grader and my 4th grader last night about this, and I said, when we came in, we had this much of a deferred payment amount that was given to us. Last year, we did this much, and with this effort, we're going to eliminate that. We're going to wipe that away, and there's not going to be any more deferred payments to the schools. And we talked, well, I didn't actually ask my kids, will the governor sign it? But what does it take to get this into law? It requires the governor to sign it. And I said, you know, I'm just guessing, kids, that Governor Dayton is so supportive of education. He's the kind of guy that would look in your eyes and he would know how important this is to not defer these payments and to take care of you and the school children of Minnesota by taking this measure and eliminating that deferred payment. He's doing something really good, and I think he wants to be a part of that. So I'm very hopeful, I'm very optimistic that he'll sign this. He would be doing right by all the school districts in the state of Minnesota. We hear constantly how this is affecting them with the borrowing that they have to do. If anyone has to borrow, it shouldn't be the school districts, it should be us here. If that's what's required, we shouldn't push that onto them.